You know, Thomas Jefferson said to compel a man to subsidize with his taxes the propagation of ideas which he disbelieves and abhors is sinful and tyrannical, which is a good argument against NPR and PBS. It's also a good argument against AFSCME and the National Education Association Teachers Union. There is no reason why we should be giving money to these people, and there's no reason why they should be spending our tax money to promote ideas that we abhor. And not only that, in the case of AFSCME, they lie through their teeth. They have saturated. Those of you who are listening on the network and on XM, you can't hear this. But at our home base station in Pennsylvania here, they are saturating the airwaves with these misleading commercials about Pat Toomey. And it's of a piece with what they did to Tim Burns, saying, well, he's in favor of a 23% sales tax on top of all the other taxes you pay, which, of course, was totally untrue. They were talking about the fair tax, and the fair tax replaces all the other taxes you pay. You could take home your entire paycheck. So, in the last break, while you guys on the network didn't hear it, they ran this commercial twice. I want to play it for you. Here it is.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better term, is good.
First, there was Gordon Gekko, who defined a generation of greed. Now Congressman Pat Toomey takes greed to a whole new level.
Well, let's stop right there. First of all, you have to accept the fact that greed is defined by a Hollywood movie. That's number one. And number two, you have to accept the fact that the government is not greedy. I don't know any company that's running a $13 trillion deficit and is going to make you pay for it. I don't know any company that doesn't negotiate with somebody for their contracts that doesn't have a bottom line to meet. AFSCME negotiates with bureaucrats who have no bottom line to meet, so they don't care. AFSCME is using your tax money to lobby for more government so they can create more jobs for themselves and higher taxes for you. They're using your money to do this, okay? So that's distortion number one. There is no such thing as greed in the private sector. In the private sector, if you're greedy, people are going to stop buying your stuff. They're not going to come into your store. They're not going to go to your bank. If you're greedy, somebody else is going to come along and undercut them. That's what the free market is all about. It is self-regulating. It is self-regulating. The only place where there is real greed is in places where people demand more than they're worth, like AFSCME. The greed is in the unions. The greed is in the government because they have the force of law to take your money. Now, let's continue with this commercial.
In Congress, Toomey voted to loosen regulations on Wall Street banks, leading to the collapse of the financial and housing markets.
That is an absolute lie. That's not what caused the collapse of the markets. It was not deregulation that caused the collapse of the markets. It was regulations imposed on banks by Democrats, Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton, the Community Reinvestment Act, to force people in the banks to give loans to people who they knew couldn't pay them back. And when they ended up with a bundle full of these loans, what did they do with them? They got rid of them as fast as they could. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac gobbled them up, and then we all had to pay for it. Pat Toomey and the Republicans had nothing to do with the subprime meltdown, which is why the global economy almost collapsed. Folks, capitalism doesn't collapse economies. Socialism does. AFSCME lies.
Yet Toomey still supports a risky scheme to turn Social Security over to Wall Street speculators, gambling our retirement in the stock market.
Wrong again. Wrong again. Nobody is talking about giving Social Security entirely to the market. What we are arguing is 2% maybe. People should have some control over their own money. Steve Forbes said it ought to be more like 6 to 8%. My view, I think we ought to go full boat, just like Chile did. Chile, about 40 years ago, went totally private in their Social Security plan, and now they are living high on the hog. Why? Because nobody is gambling in the stock market. We're talking about instruments of investment that have far more reliability and far more stability than these people would have you believe. We're talking about annuities. We're talking about bond funds. We're talking about stock funds. Nobody's putting all their eggs in any one basket, okay? This is a gross distortion. They simply cannot stand the idea that your money, that your retirement money, will not be under their control to administer and to do with what they want to do, which so far has been to steal it. It continues.
Toomey thinks Wall Street bankers should keep the bonuses they gave themselves after getting bailed out by Washington, but
Excuse me. We're talking here about the AIG bonuses. Those were bonuses that should have been given to these people. They contracted to stay on after the meltdown to help take the company apart. They did it for $1 apiece on the agreement that they would get a bonus at the end because they were literally working for free. There was nothing wrong with those bonuses. This is another total distortion.
Voted against a combat bonus for our troops fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Excuse me. My memory's a little fuzzy on this, but this is another distortion of fact, too. There was a bill that had some other flaw in it. It included a raise for people in the military, and that's what they're saying here.
Is good.
On November 2nd
Now, that's the end of it. But it's a totally misleading and BS commercial, and it is being saturated all over Pennsylvania. Don't buy 1 second of it.